Shalom, and welcome to a message for the Parsha for Parshat Emor. Emor means to say. As the Parsha begins, where Hashem instructed Moshe, Emor el HaKohanim b'nei Aaron, say to the Kohanim, to the priest, the children of Aaron, Va'amarta lehem, and you shall say to them, Lenefesh lo yitama b'amav. They should not defile their purity by coming in contact with the dead. And then the Parsha continues with various rules, various laws that apply exclusively to this special group, to this small, intimate group of priests. When I say an intimate group, I mean a small group within the Jewish people, how they have to maintain their sanctity and their exclusivity above and beyond even all the rules and regulations that apply to every single Jew. Now it's interesting. You noticed when I said, Emor el HaKohanim, say to the Kohanim, and immediately the verse says, Ve'amarta lahem, and you shall say to them. It has not yet said, Hashem has not yet qualified what to say to them, and already he says, and say to them. And of course, that is a question. What does he mean with this? What does this mean? It seems to be repetitive. And immediately Rashi tells us, quoting the Talmud, that the sages give us insight into this. And they tell us that this means that there is a double saying over here. It's not just a saying to the Kohanim, to the priests, to the adult Kohanim, but moreover, there's a saying here to them that is also directed through them, and they are in charge of making sure to it that the youth, the young Kohanim, also adhere to these rules and regulations. What are these rules and regulations? These are primarily about, as I mentioned, the sanctity, the kedusha, the holiness, the exclusivity. You see, although this parsha primarily speaks to Kohanim, but really by extension it speaks to all of us. And I'll convince you that my argument is actually true, and you'll agree. You see, what the Kohanim are to us, meaning what the priestly family, this small intimate group, is to us, the Jewish people, we, the Jewish people, are to the rest of the world. We are essentially the priests of the rest of the world. There's an entire human race which has its rules and regulations and expectations from God and expectations to God. Then there is this special group, Am Yisrael, the Jewish people. As Hashem himself, God himself declared us right before giving us the Torah, he says, Va'atem tihiyu li, you shall be to me, Mamlechet Kohanim v'goy kadosh. You shall be to me a kingdom of priests. Listen to the words, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Thus, whatever rules apply to the Kohanim, by extension, at least the idea of those rules, the soul of the message applies to us. What is it that Hashem was saying? That when it comes to the sanctity, when it comes to those specific rules which highlight, which not only highlight and bring out, but also secure and maintain the holiness, the sanctity, the exclusivity of the Kohanim, of the priests, there it does not only apply to adults as normally the mitzvot apply, but obligation is also on the adults to see to it that the youth also adhere to it. That the young, even those that are before bar and bat mitzvah, who are typically not obligated in mitzvot, that they too maintain the sanctity. How would this apply to us? Let me give you an example. If a child, let's say, desecrates the Shabbat, it's not the end of the world. We try to educate our children to go to adhere to the spirit of Shabbat. But still, we don't have the same expectations of them as we do of ourselves once we pass the age of bar mitzvah, once we pass the age in which we're obligated to keep the mitzvot. And likewise, many other mitzvot. They're not yet obligated. They're not obligated to pray with the minyan, and so on and so forth. However, when it comes to those fundamental mitzvot, those mitzvot that tap into, that feed the sanctity, the exclusivity of a Jew, there is no difference between an adult and a child. No Jewish person in their right mind would feed their child non-kosher food. Why? Why don't we make the argument? Well, they're not obligated in mitzvot, they're just little children. Because we know that the food that we eat becomes part of us. The food that we consume becomes a part of our bodies. And it, in a way, remains with us for the rest of our lives. It's not just another mitzvah. It is fundamental to our existence, to our spiritual existence, to our holiness, to our sanctity. Thus, the parents are commanded to maintain the sanctity of the children, see to it that they have a kosher life. And this is not only in food, but also in matter of the access they have to knowledge, to the worldview, to philosophy, to ideology. We don't just say, well, let the child watch, it doesn't matter what movies they watch. Maybe Xmas, themed. It may be something which is not really about Judaism, or maybe even worse, it's antithetical to Judaism. Big deal. When he gets older, he'll find out the truth. When she gets older, she'll learn and know better. No, we don't do that, because we know that the sanctity, the mind gets influenced, especially in a little child. Thus, the message of this week is, we, the adults, have a special obligation, and at the same time privilege and merit, to maintain, to nurture that sanctity of the next generation, and see to it that we forever remain a nation of priests, that special exclusive nation. Shabbat Shalom.